Tonight on The Big Story, amid a leadership tug of war and impeachment preparations, the president calls for a special session of Congress. Forget politics and remember your job. The two leads of the Ateneo men's basketball team quit a full week after two of their players drowned, while university officials come forward in remorse.
We are truly sorry for missteps which have caused further pain to the community, and we will work hard to rebuild your trust.
Down south, more earthquake strike, with Mindanao still reeling from the aftermath of a magnitude 7.8 tremor. Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon. President Marcos is asking Congress to convene a special session. That's on the back of delays in the passage of priority measures. The House is all for it, but the Senate, still divided and in the middle of a leadership tug of war, is another story. Mobile journalist Mary Reyes with tonight's Big Story.
President Bongbong Marcos has called for a special session of Congress. The date, Wednesday, June 17. The purpose, to tackle his administration's priority legislation. In a palace press statement, the chief executive said among those that need to be addressed at once are the families affected by the recent earthquake in Mindanao. Then, there's students who need continued support to pursue their education. Other issues that need urgent action: better health care for senior citizens, better nutrition and protection for vulnerable sectors. Under the Constitution, the President may call for a special session at any time.
Maliwanag ang naising ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Naglabas ng Proclamation No. 1318 ngayong June 15, 2026, kung saan nagpapatawag ang Pangulo ng isang special session sa Kongreso para mapabilis ang aksyon sa mga panukalang batas na magpapatibay sa social protection, magpapalawak ng access sa edukasyon at healthcare, at magpapatuloy ang suporta sa mga kababayan nating mas nangangailangan.
Under Proclamation No. 1318 issued on Monday, June 15, Marcos called on both the Senate and the House of Representatives to urgently consider the passage of more measures, such as the Anti-Political Dynasty Bill. The special session would also enable the Commission on Appointments to act on pending confirmation to key positions in the cabinet, military, and foreign service. President Marcos hopes this will help ensure continuity and stability across government institutions. Before Congress began its 2-month break or sine die adjournment, several military generals, including those who hold key commands, were already in line for their confirmation to make their promotions official. A long list of diplomats, as well as the head of the Philippine Space Agency, were also awaiting official appointment. These, however, were derailed by the political and literal chaos in the Senate, which Mr. Marcos himself expressed disappointment over. Recall that on May 11, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano was elected Senate President. But soon after, the Senate experienced a shooting incident, the escape of Senator Ronald De La Rosa, and a walkout from the then minority over an attempt to change Senate rules. Leadership in the upper chamber has since shifted, with Senator Sherwin Gatchalian elected as Senate President pro tempore. Malacanang has acknowledged Gatchalian as the upper chamber's new leader despite Cayetano's insistence otherwise.
Binigyan diin din po ng Pangulo sa Araw ng Kalayaan nitong June 12, 2026. Ang sabi ng Pangulo, piliin ang ikabubuti ng bayan laban sa interes ng iilan. Huwag magpagapi sa pagpapaunlad ng sariling ambisyon. Manatiling tapat sa tungkulin, manatiling tapat sa konstitusyon, at manatiling tapat sa taong bayan.
Despite this, the leadership issue still haunts the Senate. When asked what will happen if the Cayetano bloc decides not to attend the special session, Senator Kiko Pangilinan said that the new majority already has the numbers to convene anyway. And if Senator Joel Villanueva will attend, that makes them 13 and more than enough even without the other group. Over the weekend, Villanueva said he is attending.
Hindi po pwedeng puro away na lang. Sa pagkakataon po na magkaroon ng special session, tutuparin po natin ang ating sagradong tungkulin sa ilalim ng ating saligang batas. We will be there.
Villanueva's attendance could likewise settle the Senate leadership impasse. Gatchalian needs at least 13 votes to secure the Senate presidency.
Sana nga, dalangin naman ng lahat, hindi lang kami siguro, kundi ang sambayanan para matapos nito na tumahimik na dahil ang pangako naman po ni Senator Cayetano, bababa siya pag may term. 13. Sana nga, meron kaming 13 talaga. Dahil ang alam ko dyan, yung pagkabasa ko, yung isa na mag-a-attend lang daw po, talagang gusto niya lang daw talaga para magkaroon po ng session. So, mag-a-attend daw po siya, pero no commitment yet na sasama po sa amin.
The president, however, will not be in the country on July 17. Mr. Marcos will be in Kazan for the ASEAN-Russia Commemorative Summit since the Philippines is now ASEAN chair. Marcos will also have a bilateral meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Kapatid mobile journalist Mary Monreyes, we are One News.
And still at the Senate and its members now facing possible arrest, even detention over various charges. What does this mean for the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte? Senator Panfilo Lacson sees this as a problem, especially if the number of senators fall to 15. Lacson warned that no trial may take place as the decision of the judges will be compromised. To resolve this, Lacson suggests allowing detained senators to attend the impeachment trial, but a former IBP president is worried over the idea of senator judges by day and prisoners by night.
Faulty ho yun, mali. Kapagkat yung suspension na nakasaad dun sa Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, sa Planter Law, at saka sa Civil Service Rules, is suspension from his functions as a public official. Hindi ho tamang sabihin, pwede siya na maging impeachment court judge kahit may suspension. Kasi hindi ito sakop ng suspension. The law does not distinguish between or among the different functions of a public official.
This is also the view of House Lead Prosecutor Representative Jervil Luistro. The prosecution panel believes the required number to convict in the impeachment trial should just be lowered. Just a few hours ago, Duterte's lawyers filed their pre-trial brief.
Very enlightening itong nangyaring change of leadership sa Senado because it invited our attention to look into the doctrine behind Avellino versus Cuenco. Kung ang ating senador ay nakakulong, nagtatago, nasa ospital, or nasa abroad. Ito yung tinatawag ni Avellino versus Cuenco na beyond the coercive power of the Senate. So, personal opinion ko lang. I believe that the doctrine in Avellino should be applied also in determining the number of votes required for the purpose of conviction. This is my opinion. If the voting will happen now, it should be 22 as well.
Congressman Terry Ridon, on the other hand, says there is no problem if a jailed senator is allowed to vote.
Malaya naman po yung Senate Impeachment Court na magpasya ho na kung papayagan po, si Senator Jingo Estrada na humarap po at magpakita sa Senate Impeachment Court, wala naman ho tayo magiging pagtutol po. They're free to make their own rules among senator judges po.
Now, aside from the issue on the number of senators, the House Prosecution Panel believes the upper chamber should resolve internal issues.
We are apprehensive that we might encounter another constitutional issue because we will be starting the trial and there is no duly elected Senate President. Sana ma-address na yon para wala nang apprehension ng House about another possible constitutional issue to be raised in the Supreme Court.
Now joining us tonight for his insights on these developments is Bicol Saro Party List Representative and House Prosecution Panel Member Terry Ridon. Good evening, Congressman.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me.
Now on the impeachment trial of the VP, your view differs from that of Justice Committee Chair Congresswoman Luistro.
Well, wala pa naman hong pinal na posisyon po yung prosecution panel dito po sa bagay na ito. Kasi syempre, sa dulo man po, it is not for the prosecution panel to make a determination on. It is ultimately the Senate Impeachment Court and the senator judges as to, firstly, whether they will allow a detained senator judge to participate and vote, and secondly, on what the actual threshold vote to convict
should be. No? But we will syempre defer to what the Senate President pro tempore already stated, na at the moment, titingnan pa rin ho nila yung 16 votes to convict. And again, from then up until today, 16 votes pa rin naman po yung pinaghahandaan po naming mga boto to convict the Vice President.
Right, but if whatever the Senate does decide, if the numbers are adjusted based on based on who will be jailed if there is, may trigger a division again, and the Supreme Court may be brought into the picture once again. Will this lead to a delay in the impeachment trial?
Tingin ko hindi naman po. Firstly, yung po nga number naman po to convene is something that actually currently exists. No? So whether we are talking about a 12-member threshold or a 13-member threshold, the new Senate majority currently possesses it. No? So yun yung una. So I think it is outside of the question, yung po nga delay nung po nga convening of the impeachment court by the 6th of July. So ibang bagay lang ho, syempre, when we reach to the level of voting. No? So I think that is something that the Senate Impeachment Court will have to decide on, no? Kung if it's still 16 votes or will the threshold vote be adjusted because of the lower number of total Senate judges participating.
Can the trial proceed even without a final determination of the numbers?
Pwede ho yun. Kasi similar to the opening of the plenary, like what we had previously seen, basta naman ho may 12 mga senador. And in the impeachment court, meron pang 12 senator judges. Pwede magbukas yung impeachment court. We can proceed to trial and presentation of evidence there.
Now let's go to the special session being called by the President. Are there any other pending bills still in the House, or have you finished your work?
Well, most of the objectives po of the House have been finished when we convened the Sine Die. Pero siyempre mayroon po pa nakabitin pang mga usapin, no? Katulad halimbawa ng party list reform law at yung iba pang mga economic measures, no? Particularly halimbawa yung pong removal of the VAT in petroleum and electricity rates po. No? So I think it's something that we would still want to be able to pursue. Kasi for example, yung sa removal of VAT, hindi ho nasama yung diesel and gasoline. Doon po sa removal of VAT. And siyempre, panawagan din for electricity, yung pong pagtatanggal ng VAT para dito.
Okay. Napasan nyo na yung anti-dynasty bill, pero sa Senate, I think it's just going to be reported to the plenary pa lang. So, are you hoping that this will be one of those that will be tackled para thresh out ng differences of both measures?
Well, tama po yun. So, hopefully, when we get to the special session, it's something that the Senate will be able to tackle as well. Kasi kung tapos na sa bahagi namin, we would want to be able to see the final Senate version as well. No? So, hopefully, we can see it during the special session. Pero, mabilis na lang naman ho. We are in the middle of June already. Kahit sa reopening po ng Congress by SONA, pwede rin naman ho tapusin po ng Senado. Yan pong bagay na yan.
But in your case, Kong, ano bang mas magandang version? Kasi maraming batikos dito sa pinasan ninyo sa House.
Well, ultimately, I think it is going to be a vigorous debate, no, with the Senate. Kasi I think ang gusto ho ng Senate talagang mas exhaustive, no, yung pong pagpigil sa political dynasties, no. So hopefully when we reach to the BICAM, magiging we will find the best version that is fit to our current condition.
So how long do you see this special session running? Medyo matagal-tagal dahil maski sa inyo party list reform and the VAT, medyo mahabang debate dyan.
Well, we will see po on Wednesday, no, on how the majority will basically traffic the entire flow of the bills, no, and the other legislation that needs to be passed. But hopefully, we have to be able to make the most of the special session. So, halimbawa, I think a big number of congressmen had already signified that they will in fact attend the session on Monday. We will start on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
We will start a bit early. I think it's around 9, no? 9 in the morning. So we hope to see a majority of congressmen present there.
How about in the case of the promotions of some army or military officials and some appointments that need to be confirmed? Does the CA, Commission on Appointments, need to convene, or has the House finished its task there concerning those officials?
Well, major issue po yan kasi ang understanding ko dahil ho vacancy po sa mga posisyon, yung CA members po of the Senate will have to be elected first, no? During this special session. So hopefully, as soon as they get elected, together with the minority membership of the CA in the Senate, hopefully they can convene the soonest. Kasi alam po niyo mahirap matenga kung halimbawa inabutan po yung isang opisyal na kanyang retirement age, talagang tapos po yun. Kumbaga, they will retire at their current rank.
Right.
Imbis na pinayagan ho silang makadiretso doon ho sa susunod po nilang promotion status. And I don't think the public will accept it, not just because we were busy politicking, hindi ho natin napagbigyan yung atin pong mga magigiting na mga kawal.
Oo nga. And in the case of the CA, it's the congressmen and the senators who have to convene together to pass on these appointments and promotions.
Tama po yun. But again, because nga there's a vacancy in the membership of the Senate CA, kailangan punuin pa ulit ito. So we will wait for them. Hopefully, they'll be able to fill it up by Wednesday so that the CA can convene po immediately. And hopefully, hindi pa ho umabot sa retirement age ito po mga uniform personnel po natin and other diplomats and other CA officials.
You mean because nag-adjourn na sinidiye yung Senado at Kongreso, itong special session doesn't count? Hindi ba na-extend yun? Just in case?
Hindi. Ang problema po kasi, halimbawa kung nag-birthday na ho sila, nag-retirement age ho sila, previous to the calling for the special session and the convening of the CA, mate-technical po yung mga tao po natin. Hindi ba? So parang pwede yung mag-object kung sino man ho. Hindi ba? Na parang, bakit ngayon in-appoint, retired na yan. Hindi ba? So, I don't want to see that situation. So, hopefully, makapag-convene na ho sila the soonest.
And finally, still on the impeachment trial of the VP, the panel announced the first batch of private prosecutors. When will you be announcing the succeeding batches?
Well, hopefully within the next 2 weeks po, we can announce po yung further members of the private prosecution panel. Pero I think more or less, ayan naman na po yung pong magiging bahagi. Yung basically talagang day-to-day working with the public prosecutors and completing the preparation for the case.
Bakit ganun? Ba't nauna yung isang batch and then other batches to follow pa?
Siyempre nagtitinang din kami ng mga volunteers. Ibig sabihin, sa dami din po ng mga gustong maging bahagi ng prosecution panel. We really have to be able to vet each and every private prosecutor that want to apply. So, yun po yung proseso. Bakit in batches po namin release. Pero I think all of them will have something to bring to the table. So, meron po talaga expert in litigation. Meron po expert, for example, in forensics and accounting na tumutulong po sa amin.
All right. We thank you for your time and for once again joining the big story, Congressman Terry Ridon. You're watching the big story in One News. When we return, an expert explains the phenomenon that exposed one of Sarangani's seabeds right after a powerful quake. Stay tuned.
the Senate staff should not be caught in the middle of this political fight. Hindi po pwedeng puro away na lang. Sa pagkakataon po na magkaroon ng special session, tutuparin po natin ang ating sagradong tungkulin sa ilalim ng ating saligang batas. We will be there.
Again, Senator Joel Villanueva there promising to show up in the special session of Congress on Wednesday, June 17. He could also be the crucial 13th vote that will formally and finally install Win Gatchalian as Senate President. Now overseas, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced an end to the war with Iran. Trump touted the completed deal in a new post on Truth Social right around his 80th birthday. He claims it is something all other U.S. presidents have failed to do. The American president also announced the toll-free opening of the Strait of Hormuz. Trump says military forces will clear the mines to allow safe passage for oil and global cargo ships. In a more sober tone, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif confirmed the immediate termination of military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon. Pakistan mediated the peace deal, which will be signed in Switzerland this Friday, June 19. As a result of the deal, global oil prices fell by more than 5%. As of 7:30 p.m. Manila time, benchmark Brent crude is trading at $82 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate has dropped to $80 a barrel. Here in the Philippines, mixed pump price adjustments loom tomorrow. According to the Energy Department, gasoline prices may go down by 50 centavos per liter or rise by over 1 peso. Diesel can be cheaper by as much as 5.71 a liter, while kerosene can fall between 50 centavos and 2 pesos and 50 centavos. Energy Chief Sharon Garin cannot say when the state of energy emergency will be lifted. The DOE vows to put in place long-term measures against future oil shocks, such as shifting to electric vehicles and building national reserves.
If ever this happens, we will protect our households, our consumers, na we need to have some things in place already para hindi yung unang-unang mag-suffer yung nagbabayad sa pamasahe or nagbabayad ng bill niya.
A week after the magnitude 7.8 quake in Mindanao, another strong one hit the region past 5 this afternoon. The center was east of Governor Generoso, Davao Oriental, and had a magnitude of 6.2. As of today, June 15, the Office of Civil Defense has recorded 65 fatalities from the June 8 tremor, mostly from quake-induced landslides. 36 are still missing, most of whom came from Jose Abad Santos in Davao Occidental. Meanwhile, Sarangani's recovery efforts faced another setback after the area was hit by floods this weekend. Flood waters reached up to 2 feet in some barangays. Another cause of concern was the so-called coastal uplift in the towns of Glan and Jose Abad Santos. What was once part of the sea is now land, exposing corals and fish. FIVOLS explains this is actually a natural phenomena that happens whenever there's a massive quake. And to further explain this, we have with us Dr. Teresito Katoto Bacolcol, Director of FIVOLS. Katoto is wearing a face mask because he just underwent surgery. We hope you're fine, sir, and thank you for still saying yes to us for this interview. Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi din po sa inyo, ma'am. Thank you for having me here.
Pakipaliwanag po ang kahulugan o anong nangyayari sa isang coastal uplift.
Okay, so yung coastal uplift is the upward movement of a portion of the coastline or seafloor caused by a strong earthquake like what happened last June 8. Sa kasong ito, may mga dating nakalubog na areas tulad ng coral reefs at reef flats na naging exposed pagkatapos po ng lindol. Mahalagang maintindihan ng ating mga kababayan na ang ganitong proseso ay bahagi ng long-term geological evolution ng Pilipinas. So if makikita natin marami sa ating mga bundok ay may mga limestones. Sa Baguio may limestones. So yung mga limestones nanggaling po yan sa dagat and unti-unti silang umaangat dahil sa daan-daan o perhaps libo-libong events na katulad nung June 8 event.
Nakakaawa lang pong tignan ano, na well, namatay yung mga corals at yung mga ibang mga yamang dagat.
Yes po, but again, may positive side naman ito. Nag-gain tayo ng beachfront. Medyo lumawak yung area natin. But again, we really have to accept that that's part of the natural geologic process ng Pilipinas.
So what we witnessed is something that, for instance, sabi nyo nga, ang mga kabundukan natin, ang iba dyan, makakakita tayo ng coral. So ibig sabihin, sa ilalim sila ng dagat, well, maybe thousands or maybe even millions of years ago.
That's right po. And in fact, we also observed the same thing last 2013, October, during the 2013 magnitude 7.2 Bohol earthquake. So doon sa Maribohok area, on the southwestern part of Bohol, umangat din. Almost the same, yung 2 meters and then yung coastline lumawak ng 200 meters. So it's one of the reasons why you have Chocolate Hills. Yung Chocolate Hills natin na nasa gitna ng Bohol were also formed in the same manner.
Interesting. Pero is there the other side of the coin naman? Yung ang lupa naman ang kukunin. That can happen too, right?
Yes, in some parts, for example, in Bohol, may uplift and may subsidence din naman.
Subsidence.
So,
okay.
yes, in some parts.
But in this particular case, Katoto, parang walang nakitang subsidence, no? Yung parang pagguho ng lupa or sinkholes like what was seen in Cebu.
Ang Cebu kasi is made up of limestone. So yung sinkholes and even Bohol, made up of limestone. So nakikita natin yung mga sinkholes in areas kung maraming limestones. So may mga kasama tayo ngayon naglilibot in Mindanao. Tinitingnan nila kung may sinkhole sa Balut Island. So hindi pa masyadong malawak yung coverage na hindi pa nakita lahat yung impact ng June 8 event.
Mabalik po tayo dun sa uplift, coastal uplift. Yung mga corals ba hindi na ho pwede yung dalin sa dagat para mabuhay ulit o mga patay na yon?
Unfortunately, naapektuhan talaga yung marine ecosystem natin, lalo na yung mga coral reefs, seagrass beds at reef flats na dating nasa ilalim ng tubig but permanente nang na-expose sa hangin at araw. So again, we recommend na magsagawa ng detailed assessment yung DNR, BIFAR, at yung mga concerned LGUs upang matukoy ang extent ng epekto ng marine habitats at coastal livelihoods.
Now let's go to the rather strong aftershocks that were felt today. Maituturing pa rin po bang aftershock yon or panibagong quake po ba yon? Or part of the main quake?
Hindi pa, it's not an aftershock, it's a different event. Iba din yung source noon, yung June 8 was the Cotabato Trench. Yung kanina, magnitude 6.2, was generated by the Philippine Trench. So magkaiba po yan and it's 250 kilometers away from, yung epicenters ng dalawa is 250 kilometers yung distance. So hindi po sila connected.
It's not an aftershock, it's a separate earthquake pala.
That's right, it's separate earthquake generated by the Philippine Trench.
Now, what explains the rather frequent earthquakes down south?
Well, siguro malalakas lang ngayon, but you know, the Philippines is located along the boundaries of several tectonic plates and meron tayong numerous active faults and trenches. So because of this tectonic setting, earthquakes regularly occur throughout the country and nagkataon lang na, in a span of 1 week, meron tayong malalaking lindol in southern Philippines.
Now this brings to mind the big one that may happen here in Luzon because it's been some time since we've had, a rather strong one. Although, of course, we can never predict. Ano pong masasabi ninyo?
Again, yun yung sinasabi natin, again, the big one na sinasabi natin that will take place along the West Valley Fault, ang sinasabi natin that we're right for the big one because, the recurrence interval is every 400 to 600 years. And the last time it moved was 1658. Now, as we get closer to the lower limit, which is 400 years, yung probability of this one occurring ay tumataas. But it doesn't mean na, again, mangyari talaga yan by 2058. Could happen earlier, or it could happen later, or pwede ring mangyari yan on the upper limit, which is 600 years. That means 200 years from now. But of course, we have to assume that it will happen on the lower limit para mag-prepare tayo. Otherwise, sabihin natin na, it will not happen on the lower limit. It will happen on the upper limit, which is 200 years from now. Baka hindi na tayo mag-prepare. Kung nangyari yan on the lower limit.
Right. Pero base po sa obserbasyon ninyo and assessment from seeing, videos that were shared on social media on the actual occurrence of the 7.8 magnitude quake, would you say na medyo mas preparado na ang taong bayan sa mga ganitong kaganapan?
I would say that we're more prepared now than say 20 or 30 years ago. Ang laki ng influence ng social media. Seconds lang alam kagad natin kung anong nangyayari, at nakikita natin yung reaction ng mga tao. But we still have a long way to go, especially doon sa coastlines. Kasi yung napansin natin, yung mga tao, instead of evacuating kasi nag-recede yung tubig, kumuha pa ng cellphone at nag-Facebook Live or video pa.
Oo
So
nga po.
that's wrong.
That's
Kasi
wrong.
ang sinasabi natin, that's right. Kung biglang bumalik yun as tsunami waves. Although nagkaroon naman talaga ng tsunami, but hindi ganun kalaki. So, just 1.4 meters yung na-record natin.
Yeah.
Paano kung if it happened like during the 1976 earthquake sa Cotabato Trench din, 8 to 10 meter tsunami waves ang bumalik in 5 minutes after the main shock.
Just
That's
5
the reason
minutes, Just 5 minutes?
That's right. That's the reason why ang daming casualty at the time, 8,000. Kung paano kung nangyari ngayon, this time. So, yun na nga, kailangan siguro natin paigtingin pa yung information dissemination drive natin along coastal communities.
Okay, kasi yung tsunami, hindi rin pa, medyo unique po yung experience na yon. So maybe those videos can be used for education purposes na this is not what you should be doing.
That's right, that's right.
Now let's go to Mayon. Talagang we will take advantage of your presence here po. May Strombolian activity at the summit. Pakipaliwanag po ang ibig sabihin nito.
Yung Strombolian activity, these are just short explosive bursts of lava. So every now and then, meron tayong Strombolian activity. In fact, for the past 24 hours, meron tayong 5 Strombolian activity. Again, short explosive bursts of lava. So kapag dire-diretso yan, we will call that lava fountaining. Pero since pabugso-bugso lamang, we call that Strombolian. And yung kahapon, umabot ng 200 meters. But we've been, since the start of the eruption of Mayon volcano, last January 6, nakikita natin yung Strombolian activity every now and then.
But will this taper down, this activity, or do you see a strong one like a lava fountain coming?
Meron tayong lava fountaining pero paminsan-minsan short-lived lamang. And hopefully mag-taper off na yung activity ng Mayon volcano kasi more than 160 days na since nagkaroon ng effusive eruption. Okay lang effusive eruption, wag lang explosive eruption. The downside of effusive eruption is that, katulad ng nangyari ngayon, halos more than 6 months na and hindi pa humihinto.
And all signs indicate that it's going to go down rather than toward an explosive eruption?
This is following the 2023 template. So right now, ang nakita natin, effusive eruption pa rin. Kapag dumadami na yung, kapag nagmeron na tayong lava fountaining na sustained, yun na yung isa sa mga signs na magkakaroon na ng explosive eruption. But we're not seeing that right now.
May dalawa pang bulkan po, Katoto, ang Taal naman. Kamusta ang Taal?
Ang Taal volcano for the past 24 hours nakapagtala tayo ng 2 volcanic earthquakes. And right now, nasa alert level 1 pa rin yung Taal volcano. So meaning there's a low level of unrest. Alert level 1 siya since for the past 4 years na.
Is that very typical of Taal na 4 years ng ganyan?
Yes po. Mas magandang alert level 1 siya kesa, itataas natin to alert level 2. So, ganitong activity ng Taal is, mas okay kesa biglang magkakaroon ng maraming activity and we will raise it to alert level 2.
Okay. And now Canlaon, which has been, ilang taon na po yan?
Ang Canlaon volcano is on alert level 2 ngayon. And for the past 24 hours, meron tayong earthquakes na naitala. We have 19 volcanic earthquakes. And kahapon, yung sulfur dioxide niya is nasa 2,276 tons per day. And meron tayong 10 ash emission activity kahapon. And right now, again, nasa alert level 2 pa rin yung Canlaon volcano. And we're hoping na it will stay that way and then eventually mag-taper off din yung activity niya so that we will lower it to alert level 1.
But do you recommend widening the zone around the volcano to reduce to a reduction of population around that area?
Meron tayong permanent danger zone right now for alert level 2 ang Canlaon volcano, 4-kilometer permanent danger zone. So even at alert level 0 dapat walang tao diyan. Same with Mayon volcano, may permanent danger zone tayo which is 6 kilometers. And but of course we recognize the realities on the ground. May mga kababayan tayo na may hanap buhay inside the permanent danger zone, but sana yung LGUs meron silang project to relocate yung mga nakatira inside the permanent danger zone to a permanent settlement. Kasi nga, every time na may activity yung vulkan, we resettle them and then bumabalik na naman sila kapag alert level 0 na. So it would be cost effective in the long run kung meron silang permanent, they will be resettled permanently somewhere beyond the permanent danger zone.
One final question. What do you recommend as a project or ano ba pwedeng gawin ng mga LGU sa mga permanent danger zones na yan na para napapakinabangan pa rin pero hindi na populated or hindi na tinitira ng mga ng kanilang mga constituents?
Mahirap din kasing dapat walang talaga activity dyan, even yung farming. Kasi nga, anytime pwede even at alert level 0.
Gawing forest.
That's right. Even at alert level 0, pwede magkaroon ng phreatic eruption. Yung phreatic eruption, wala po tayong dyan. We cannot predict when it will happen. So ang mangyari niyan, kapag may tao, like, even if, say, temporary lamang, and nagkaroon ng phreatic eruption, baka po maging casualty sila. So dapat talaga i-abandon na yung area na yan.
Forested na lang.
That's right, that's right. Nakakatulong pa mag-emit ng oxygen.
We thank you so much for enlightening us with your very clear explanations. PHIVOLCS Director Teresito Bacolcol. This is a big story on One News. Coming up is the Ateneo president showing deep remorse over the drowning of 2 young student athletes.
We will continue to support you through this difficult time and will always be committed to your safety and well-being, especially as you also recover from this tragedy.
Pinag-anaisi ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Naglabas ng Proclamation No. 1318 ngayong June 15, 2026, kung saan nagpapatawag ang Pangulo ng isang special session sa Kongreso para mapabilis ang aksyon sa mga panukalang batas na magpapatibay sa social protection, magpapalawak ng access sa edukasyon at healthcare, at magpapatuloy ang suporta sa mga kababayan nating mas nangangailangan.
It took Ateneo de Manila University officials 1 week to speak up about the drowning of 2 students. This afternoon, they issued a lengthy apology and announced the resignation of the top leaders of the school's basketball team. The details from mobile journalist Arles de los Santos.
A week to the day, student athletes Rene Baterbonia and Divine Adili drowned. Officials of the Ateneo de Manila University finally faced the media. University President Father Bobby Yap announced the resignations of men's basketball leads Coach Tab Baldwin and team manager Epo Kimpo.
The university has accepted the resignation of head coach Thomas Anthony Tab Baldwin, effective immediately. As we enter a period of deep institutional review, a change in leadership is necessary to ensure the full integrity of our sports programs and safety protocols, especially our student athletes, the players, coaching and supporting staff.
The Ateneo chief also assured remuneration for victims' families, which he said does not bear in any way any legal responsibility for the tragedy.
We will continue to support you through this difficult time and will always be committed to your safety and well-being, especially as you also recover from this tragedy.
The Ateneo leadership also insisted they did give support to bereaved families from the beginning. On the day, the university officials spoke and showed remorse for the incident that occurred in Aurora during a team-building activity, but Terbonia's remains have been flown back to his hometown in Agusan del Sur, while the requested autopsy on Adilio's remains is yet to be completed.
We did try to support as much as we can for the wake, for the care of the family during this situation. We will provide assistance, material assistance to the families, and we see that not as a form of legal settlement, but that is really a form of our moral responsibility.
Maraming lumalabas, ba't doon, ba't hindi ganyan? Kasi nirespeto namin yung pamilya. Maraming nangyari, ang hirap kasi magsalita. Hindi. So, malalim na paggalang.
The fathers understand that acceptance and forgiveness won't come easy. They now appeal for prayers, healing, and clarity as 2 young lives are lost.
We are truly sorry for missteps which have caused further pain to the community, and we will work hard to rebuild your trust.
The Ateneo is creating a committee made up of competent legal and technical experts outside the university's administration for an independent internal investigation. It is also awaiting the decision of the UAAP board if the Blue Eagles team will be suspended. Just on Sunday, June 14, Ateneo pulled out of the Phil Oil Preseason Cup. Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
In other news, PhilHealth clarifies its 24-hour confinement rules after a widow failed to get compensation from the state insurer. One woman said her husband Marvin had brain hematoma but was unable to undergo an operation worth 4 million pesos. Manila Doctors Hospital suggested the patient's transfer to the UERM in Quezon City to cut costs. But UERM supposedly asked for a 1 million peso deposit. With the family not able to shell out the amount, Marvin died. But his hospital bill still stood at 200,000 pesos. His widow then reached out to PhilHealth only to learn that her husband did not qualify for compensation because his confinement lasted less than a day. Marvin paid his PhilHealth dues for 25 years. PhilHealth CEO Dr. Edwin Mercado told One Balita Pilipinas patients with life-threatening conditions may be covered by other packages even if their hospital stay is not more than 24 hours.
Bayaran na po ito, no? Doc, so ang mangyayari ba ay marireimburse kung ano man po yung makikitang pwede o pasok doon sa benefit na pwede pong maibalik doon sa pamilya na halaga?
Tama yan, Cheryl. At napag-agrihan po na meron pong makukuha at ito po ay amin pong ipinaprocess na. At ito po ay agaran po naming i-reimburse kapag po nakuha na namin yung mga required na documents.
Meantime, we give you more headlines this Monday. The wrap from mobile journalist Fatima Baduria.
Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa has surrendered 20 of the 117 firearms registered under his name. His authorized legal representative turned over these firearms to the Regional Civil Security Unit 11 in Davao City. The PNP Firearms and Explosives Office revoked the licenses on May 26. This comes as the senator continues to evade the arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court over charges of crimes against humanity in connection to the Duterte drug war.
20 armas, mabuti naman, pero sana yung 117 i-surrender lahat. Di ba? Kung sana pag-surrender ng armas, sumama na rin si Senator Bato pag-surrender. No?
Families of 2 abducted UP students ran to the Supreme Court on June 15 to compel the Bureau of Corrections to disclose the whereabouts of retired General Jovito Palparan. Palparan was convicted in 2018 for kidnapping and serious illegal detention of Karen Empeño and Sherlyn Cadapan in 2006. The families alleged that Palparan was already transferred to the Philippine Military Academy in Baguio City. But the Bureau of Corrections has released photos of Palparan still inside the new Bilibid prison. These were supposedly taken on June 5 during a medical mission organized by the Veterans Memorial Medical Center. Bucor Director General Gregorio Catapang Jr. told Storycon that Palparan was never outside Bilibid.
Well, kung nagdududa sila na nasa Baguio o some other place, they can visit the Bucor and see for themselves. Nandun si General Palparan nakakulong, serving his sentence. Fake news po yan, fake news.
The Supreme Court has suspended Jesus Falsis from the practice of law for 1 year. The suspension stemmed from his use of allegedly obscene and defamatory language in a 2018 social media post. The case arose from a Twitter post in which Falsis defended his brother Nico against allegations linked to a qualified theft complaint filed by then TV host Chris Aquino. The High Court Second Division found him guilty of simple misconduct. Earlier, the Integrated Bar of the Philippines found that Falsis violated the Code of Professional Responsibility and Accountability due to offensive language, and initially recommended only a fine and reprimand. And Pope Leo XIV prays for Filipinos affected by the magnitude 7.8 earthquake last week. In a post on his X account, the pontiff said he is close to the people of the Philippines and offered prayers for the dead, injured, and those suffering. Over 260,000 families have been affected by the disaster. Around 3,200 families or 14,200 people remain in evacuation centers. Kapatid Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
Here's another story before we go. Metro Manila's last coastal frontier is home to mangroves and migratory birds, but waste and climate change continue to threaten its protected ecosystem. Mobile journalist Francis Rivera reports.
The Las Piñas and Parañaque Wetland Park is tagged as Metro Manila's last coastal frontier because of its mangrove, birds, and biodiversity.
Within its 181.63 hectare area, 36 hectares are allocated to mangrove forest. Because of this, it has been recognized by the Ramsar Convention as Metro Manila's last remaining coastal mangrove frontier, serving as a vital natural storm barrier for communities living near the coast. It is also recognized as the first ever critical habitat established in the Philippines. Aside from its mangrove ecosystem, it is home to 173 species of birds and has been designated a wetland of international importance due to the presence of migratory bird species. These are just some of the distinctions and recognitions received by the LPPWP. To further protect and conserve the park, Ongoing efforts include biodiversity monitoring, environmental assessments, and habitat rehabilitation programs.
I-make sure namin na walang mangrove na dapat tinatanim dun sa mudflats. Bakit? Kasi kapag kumapal yung mangrove forest natin sa mudflats, mawawalan tayo or mawawalan ng feeding ground yung mga ibon naman, no? Yung pagtatanggal ng mga invasive species, yung mga iipil-ipil, yung mga lantana, aroma, kasi kapag hindi natin sila tinanggal, ma-encroach na yung ibang halaman, ibang habitat, baka masira din yung biodiversity.
In 2018, the LPPWP was declared a protected area under Republic Act No. 11038, also known as the Expanded National Integrated Protected Area System Act. In addition to climate change, one of the major threats to the park is the accumulation of waste from residential communities connected to Manila Bay. Park officials said that a large portion of the waste found in the area is transported by the tidal currents and eventually end up along the park's shoreline.
Nandyan yung patuloy na banta ng solid waste, no? Maraming basura from the entire Manila Bay na pumupunta dito sa LPP or inaano dito sa Las Piñas, Parañaque Wetland Park, especially during the habagat season. Basically, nagiging catch basin tayo ng basura ng entire Manila Bay. At yung mga volunteers natin laging nandyan para tulungan tayo to protect the LPPWP, to make it clean.
Visitors can enjoy a close connection with nature through the park's various attractions, including bird watching station, a bamboo situm, a boardwalk that leads through the mangrove forest, and a museum. Admission to Las Piñas Parañaque Wetland Park is free from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., subject to an appointment system. To schedule a visit, guests only need to send an email through the park's official website. And as part of their conservation efforts, park officials are urging the public to practice responsible waste management.
Ang DNR-NCR ay kasama nyo kami, no? Kasama nyo kami sa pagpapangalaga ng Las Piñas Parañaque Wetland Park. Yung panawagan natin sa mga tao nakapaligid, especially for those waterways, sana mas maayos at mas may sistema yung pagtapon ng basura.
Mga kapatid, mobile journalist Francis Rivera, we are One News.
And those are the big stories. This Monday, June 15, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon. Kapatid, we are One News, your side all the time. Good night.